fucking yes me. 'Cause we stay all late, and I'm wide awake. I'm not coming home tonight. So the next time when I'm on the line, I'll read you this note. I'm not coming home tonight.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pass Interference Podcast. I am your host, as always, Max Whirling. How is everybody doing tonight, or morning, or afternoon, whenever you listen to this lovely, wonderful podcast that we have? Of course, we are on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and of course, anywhere where you can throw your hands on any podcasts. So, without further ado, on this late starting recording that we have going on today, I'm going to introduce the man to my right. He is, of course, the bearded one who is freshly shaven, and like I said, he was a little naughty today because he was a little late. Johan, Jonathan Neckridge, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good now that I got a beer in my system, so ready to get this going.
Absolutely. And to the imaginary left of me, it is, of course, the chef man himself on a new system. Yes, we upgraded his microphone because I know that, at least to me, hearing crunching of the wrappers and heavy breathing and everything was a little on the nerves. So, introducing, of course, Bronson Pompilio. How are you doing, sir?
I am good.
Sounding
Ready
crystal
to
clear.
get this started.
Yeah, Bronson was about ready to drive to Hagerstown himself and smack you upside the head, John. Just letting you know.
Damn. I mean, if that he can come over and hang, I'll take the slap. Let's hang.
Dick.
I'll slap you
Alright.
for every mile I drive.
That's not slaps. Never mind. Keep your ass over there.
Yeah, and Bronson's slaps aren't like typical, like no, they're like,
I know.
They're like-
That's 110% full force.
oh my god, that sucks. So, all right, have to get a little beer in my system as well. I think we're all drinking. This is a podcast where everybody's drinking. John, what are you drinking tonight?
Basic ass Yingling.
Bronson?
Basic. I'm drinking Natty Boh, man.
All right, and I'm drinking all the way down here at the local brewery in Sarasota called J-Dubs, and it's called Passion Wheat, where it's passion fruit and mango wheat ale. It is very delicious.
Yummy.
It's very delicious. Okay, so we have a action-packed show for you today. We are going to talk Hall of Fame. We're, of course, going to talk about, we can call it the Super Bowl, right? Like, I don't think we can avoid, or I think we can avoid any legalities by calling it the big game or any bullshit, because I know that's an actual thing. We're going to talk about some news, and then we are going to do a mock draft. What this mock draft consists of is a round robin. I'm going to start with the first pick. Bronson will be picking second. John will be picking third. We'll round robin through the teams. We're going to do no trades, but gentlemen, if you're at a pick and you're like, okay, this seems like a place where a team might want to trade out, you can say, I could see this team trading out, stuff like that, getting some extra picks, things like that. But we're just doing this just straight mock draft. We have a couple boards ready and ready to get this thing started. So the first thing that leads us into everything is, of course, the Hall of Fame class of 2019. At special request, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Led by, looks like, starting first, and it's just going by alphabetical order. Champ Bailey, of course, the defensive back who originally played for my Washington Redskins for the first 5 years of his career, was then traded to the Denver Broncos for Clinton Portis. Or it was him and a second round draft pick to the Denver Broncos for Clinton Portis. It worked out better, in my opinion, for the Broncos than it did for the Redskins, even though Clinton Portis did have a good career. You can't beat a shutdown cornerback, and that's what Champ Bailey was. So, what do you think, guys? Guys like the pick there? First ballot Hall of Famer right there.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I've always been a big Champ Bailey fan, no matter what. Actually, I think I had a Redskins jersey of his for some reason back in the day.
It's just because it's Champ Bailey, man.
He was a man.
It's why I have an Adrian Peterson jersey, even though it's a Vikings jersey. I don't like the Vikings particularly, but I love Adrian Peterson. You just root for players sometimes. So, second is the current owner of the Denver Broncos, Pat Bowlen, has owned the team since 1984, has been to 7 Super Bowls, winning 3 of those. Currently suffering from Alzheimer's and a little bit of some issues there with legalities of the team. Nobody knows who's going to run the team. They have somebody in mind that's going to be one of his daughters who the league wants, who's 28 years old. Pisses me off. I'm like, fuck! Why couldn't I be born into that shit? John, there you go. That's how you're going to become an owner of a team. You just need to slide into those DMs.
Hey, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good choice. Like I said, great owner. The Broncos have been a model franchise for the past decade, or a couple decades. 35 years since he's owned the team, so I have no issues there. Finally, someone shocking that I didn't realize didn't make the Hall of Fame, Gil Brandt, who was the vice president of the Cowboys, especially during those great years between, the 60s, 70s, and 80s with Tom Landry. Helped build that team, scouted a lot, and signed a lot of players and everything. He was the vice president. Very shocked, guys, that he did not get in a lot sooner.
Yeah, it is surprising for sure, to say the least.
Yeah. 13 division titles, 6 conference championships, and 2 Super Bowl victories. I mean, that's crazy. They didn't get in there, but it is what it is. He finally gets in. Thankfully, he's still alive, so that's good. He's 85 years old. Holy shit! He'll be 86 years old next month. So yeah, it's about goddamn time he got in. So somebody who didn't have to wait that long is Tony Gonzalez, probably regarded as the number 1 tight end of all time. Right up there with, you could argue, between him, Antonio Gates, and even Shannon Sharp on who's the best tight end. I think no-brainer right there. We don't really have to talk about that. Ty Law, again, another great defensive back. Played primarily for the Patriots, won 3 Super Bowls with them, was a shutdown corner. I love Ty Law because I would go in Madden 2005 when he was a free agent, sign him, and then trade him for a top 5 overall pick because they didn't know how to divvy out trades back in the day. And I love that shit. And then we get 2 top 5 picks off an 0-16 team. So yay! Thank you, Ty Law. You deserve it. Kevin Mawai, the center, who played for a few teams, primarily for the Jets. That's where he's known from. Great player. Don't really have much to say about him. We're going to skip him for just now. And then the owner's selection committee, they always do one where it's Johnny Robinson, safety who played for the Dallas Texans / the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't know too much about him, but 57 career interceptions, well-deserved career, yada, 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 so on and so forth. Finally, the one that John really, really wanted to talk about is Houston Texans great and New York Jets great. No, I'm joking. Of course, it is the legendary Baltimore Ravens legend, Ed Reed, the safety out of Miami. First round pick, 24th overall in the 2002 draft. Topped interceptor, led the AFC in interceptions 4th time. Defensive player of the year, so on and so forth. But John, it's your floor. Go ahead, talk about Ed Reed.
All right, I'll try to be quick on this one. Ed Reed was always my favorite all-time Ravens player. I still think he was the best defensive player on the Ravens, and I was always bold with saying that over Ray Lewis. Yes, Ray Lewis does have a statue outside of the stadium now, and he'll go down as one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. But I always loved Ed Reed. Like you said, 2004 Defensive Player of the Year. And one thing that always stood out to me, and I think we might touch on it a little later, I'm not sure, but I mean, Bill Belichick always loved him. I mean, you see clips of him and Tom Brady talking about every time they play Baltimore is, we have to look out for Ed Reed. He's one exceptional player. And I do agree with what he said before. I think, at least for most of his career, he should have stayed on the punt return. Not necessarily as a returner, but I mean, when he was on the outside, I mean, he was getting blocks like crazy. I mean, I think he had 2 or 3 blocked, and he would just look up, locate the ball immediately, grab, and just run right for the end zone. One of my favorite play from him. I know everyone always wants to talk about the NFL record for longest return from an interception against the Eagles. Of course, that was awesome, but the one that I always loved was against the Bengals in 2007. He laid out Ocho Cinco, and Samari Roll picked, and then immediately he ran down the field, and Samari Roll was about to be tackled, and Ed Reed just runs up to him and just grabs the ball out of his hand and just runs right for the end zone. I mean, the dude was just something else. I mean, he's one of those rare players that could just see the whole field and just knew exactly where the ball was going. And one thing that was pretty neat about this season was the only interception that Terrell Suggs had. He was looking back, trying to do the Ed Reed lateral back, and he said so after the game. He's like, "Man, I thought it was like Ed Reed out there. I wanted to look back and pitch the ball off." And I mean, the dude was just something else, man. I mean, yeah, in my opinion, he'll go down as one of the greatest safeties to ever play the game. I don't think I'll be bold enough to say he's the greatest, even though, you know, I'm very biased towards that. And like you stated to begin with, the one thing that really upset me was towards the end of his career when they let him go and he went to Houston and then he went over to the Jets. And it pains me because it's like, you know, they show his stats and then they show the teams he played for. And I just want to see the Ravens up there. But then they got to look at the fucking Texans and the Jets. And I'm like, ugh. They had to go with Matt Elam that one year. And I mean, he looked good on paper, but that obviously didn't work out. But I'm happy for Ed Reed. He'll always be my favorite Raven. I'm actually wearing his jersey right now because I'm still pumped up about it. And the dude was just one hell of a player, one hell of a person, and the dude is still looking good.
All right, well said, John. Yeah, he was a great player. It's really impressive to think, you know, you look at the players that were drafted ahead of him. I mean, you know, just looking at it, you know, he was drafted 24th overall, and you go, man, who was drafted ahead of him? That draft also included, you know, famously David Carr being the first pick of the Houston Texans, who I still liked, but, you know, they needed a quarterback. But that also included another Hall of Famer in 5 years when the time comes up, Julius Peppers, Bryant McKinney, who was a great tackle, Roy Williams, who was a good tackle, good strong safety for the Dallas Cowboys. John Henderson was a good tackle. Dwight Freeney, possible Hall of Famer there. Jeremy Shockey was great. Albert Hainsworth, say what you want, but, you know, the Redskins years, but while he was with the Titans, he was all pro. I mean, that was a great draft class, honestly.
Yeah, and the one thing that I left out real quick was he was pretty much the greatest, not mistake, but he wasn't really on the Ravens board. But when the pick came to the Ravens, they're like, okay, we'll just go with the highest graded player on our list, and they took the chance on Ed Reed, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. It definitely worked out for them. So, and of course, Bronson, I know you're obviously not a big Ravens fan, but I know you love defense, and you probably love you some Ed Reed, don't you?
Yeah, Ed Reed was a hell of a dude, man. I was really hoping he'd join our staff, but I guess he's not going to be coaching this year.
That's okay. He'll join next year. So, all right. Now on to more depressing news. It of course is the Super Bowl, which, oh God, I really wish I wasn't at work watching that game because I was so pumped. I was so hyped for it. I was ready and willing and my body was accepting of everything. I knew the Patriots were going to win. You know, we talked about it and all this stuff about how this was going to be a game. This was going to be a fucking game, gentlemen. This was going to be the game to beat all games. And it was the most boring fucking game ever. Holy fuck, man. Like, and I saw people online tweeting about it. And again, Bronson, I'll bring you into this. And I saw people tweeting online about this, about how if you don't like that game, then you really don't like defense, yada, yada, yada. No, there was no real good defense. All it was interior pass rush and both the quarterbacks not being able to step up in the pocket and not being able to escape. So they just like threw balls that were underthrown. 90% of the time. Both quarterbacks, not just Goff. Is Goff threw some terrible passes, but Brady too. It was awful.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, you gotta look at it too. Like the Rams on paper have a great defense, but they statistically didn't play like one. And then the Patriots were like perennial smack in the middle overall defense too. It wasn't. I don't know what the fuck it was. I just think the Rams did not show up to play offense. I need to know what the hell's going on with Gurley, because there's definitely more going on there than we're being told. If it was an injury, just say it's a fucking injury, you know? And they keep saying it's not a goddamn injury. And like that was the game plan. So like, what? Like I'm confused. You have arguably the best running back in the NFL, and you don't use him.
Well,
And
one of the
granted,
things
CJ was effective,
Mhm.
but like it wasn't working anymore. It wasn't working. And they did nothing to like really. I think he had like 1 or 2 catches, and on those 2 catches, it was like huge gains, like 20, 30 yards, and then they like, we're done. You know, there was like 2 plays where he got like 15 to like 25-yard carries, you know, or catches. And then they were just like, all right, yeah, go sit back on the bench. It's like he'd come in for a play, make a play, and then leave. It was the most frustrating thing to watch.
Yeah, it was, and I will say this, I was listening to a couple different podcasts talk about it. The reason why the Patriots had so much success and why I think the Rams were running more with the CJ Anderson than Todd Gurley is because honestly, you have 200, the game's changed where you don't have necessarily big 250, 240, 260 pound linebackers anymore. You have guys who are maybe 220 pounds who should be really playing free safety instead of playing linebacker because they're so quick they can stop the guy in there. But when you got a guy like a CJ Anderson, when you got a guy like a James White or a Sony Michel, when you got guys who can, power back it up, and everything like that, when you run that defense of run stopping, you're not going to get far. And again, both teams played great interior pass rushing. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that, it was a boring game just based on that, because it was if you're into that stuff, great. It was great technique all around. It was fun and stuff like that. And I give you credit. I give people credit if they like that. But otherwise, no, it was boring as fuck. Nobody, no real drama, no nothing. Even towards the end, I'm like, where's the hurry up? Where's the passion? Goff, what the fuck was that throw for his interception?
Yeah. How about that sack he took where he scrambled out of the pocket, and instead of throwing the ball away, he just got fucking drilled.
Yeah.
He looked terrified out there.
Yeah,
remember when he ran that bootleg and he was like, he could have easily just chucked the ball down the sideline and been incomplete. Mm-hmm. But he's like, all right, I'm going to take this hit. Like he was like frazzled, like he couldn't think.
Yeah, John, I know Jared Goff. He played pretty decent this season, but he looked like a boy among men. He really did.
They say sometimes, the big game could be too big for some people. And I know he played pretty solid the last few weeks in the playoffs, but when it comes down to it, this is a big game, and now you got to go up against, now, B top franchise. Now you can say now that they're tied with the Steelers for most Super Bowls. That's where you got to step up. We've seen guys that have looked, pretty average, and then they step up in the big game, and some players they could be MVP caliber quarterbacks, and they get into the Super Bowl and they're just like what? And a lot of the articles I was reading, I was like, was this the most boring Super Bowl? And a lot of them had them like this game in like 10th or 9th all time. And of course up there were the blowouts, like when Seattle whooped Denver a few years ago. And even when the Ravens whooped the Giants in 2000, that was up there too. But it's like every drive it's like, okay, let's do something, and nothing happened. The Rams got penalized way more. Disagree on the hit on a defensive receiver early in the game. I thought that was kind of weird. And then later in the game, I was surprised he didn't call a penalty on I think it was Darnold or Donald when he threw Brady to the ground. I was like, oh, that's definitely a penalty. And they didn't throw that. Goff got lit up out of bounds. They didn't call that. So, but I mean, you know, you look at it on paper. I mean, you know, Brady did exactly what he had to do. He wasn't phenomenal, but you know, he got Edelman the ball. He was all over the place. Sony Michel had a really solid game. And then, you know, going back to what Bronson said about Gurley, I mean, you know, if it's an injury, I mean, we'll never hear it unless if he comes out and says it. Because I believe when the Broncos got whooped in that Super Bowl, it was like in the offseason when Peyton was like, yeah, I was hurt. And, you know, if they come out and say that, then I guess it might look bad on the team for, you know, be like, oh, well, you played, you know, a player that was hurt. But, you know, C.J. Anderson couldn't really get much going. And, you know, the only player that really was doing things on the field was Brandon Cooks. And, I mean.
And that was barely any. He had, like, I think, 2 catches.
Yeah. Well, he had eight receptions. You know, he was targeted 13 times, but I mean, you know, it's just not going to get it done. I know a lot of people are putting the blame on Goff, and I know
I'll put this out there. His statistical performance, Goff's, was worse than Rex Grossman's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you know, I could definitely agree with it. I mean, you know, this is, you know, the game where it separates men from boys, like you said, Max. And I mean, he just didn't show up at all. He just looked really lost out there, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was shaping up to be, and people can laugh all this one, but it was shaping up to be, honestly, where the MVP was going to be Johnny Hecker, the fucking punter for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, 9 punts for 417 yards. That's a lot. Now, granted, he had a long of 65, that's incredible. Give him all the props for that. But the biggest statistic out of his 9 punts, five of them, so more than half, went inside the 20. And I think like 3 of those were inside the 10. If not 4 of those were inside the 10. Like, he's ridiculous. So he is a great punter. I don't want to hear anytime anybody says, oh, punters don't matter. They're not actual fucking woo-woo. No. Fucking Ray Guy should be in the Hall of Fame. That's my stand right now. That's my fucking, like, flag. Is he in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't even know.
I think he is.
He better be.
I feel like he got in
okay,
a few
2014. Yeah. But it took Ray Guy nearly 40 fucking years to get into the Hall of Fame. And people don't realize how crucial fucking punters are. They really are crucial. They're not just like a throwaway, like, you know, like whatever. No, and I should correct that, not 40, but it took them nearly 30 years to get into the Hall of Fame. Punters matter.
That's why I love my boy Sam Cook in Baltimore, man, for many years.
Every time I see his name, I want to say cock.
I do the same thing when I was a teenager. It's all good.
Yeah. Sam Cock. I don't know about you guys too, but man, Gostkowski, and we later found out that his grandfather died, but man, he was off. Like you could tell.
He's been off the last 2 years.
Yeah. So, and he's a free agent. I don't know necessarily if the Patriots are going to keep him or if they're just going to move on. As we know, they had Adam Vinatieri, who's still playing, and signed another 1-year contract to play. But I could see, and they let him go. Even, what was that, 10 years ago at this point, I think? I mean, the Patriots aren't afraid to let kickers go. And I think Gostkowski, I think this is... I give him all the props in the world. I don't know if I could kick or make kicks under the conditions he was at, because like I said, I think was his grandfather or his father died. Gostkowski, let me look it up here. Gostkowski father, I think, or maybe his grandfather. I think it was grandfather. So yeah, his grandfather passed away. So. I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow right there. To learn that your grandfather died, and then have to go kick in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I give him all the credit in the world, but every time I watched him kick, I don't know why the Patriots kept putting it on the left hash mark. When every time I watched him kick, it kept going left. It kept slicing left. You know, I don't know why. I don't understand why they weren't putting it down the middle or getting him more, more right, because they kept hitting that left hash mark, and he's like, okay, I'll kick it, and every single time it fucking started slicing to the left. Especially that last field goal, I thought he missed it.
Yeah,
it was that close. So, here's something I heard, and say what you want, but I think the game really, the tone was set from the very beginning with the kickoff return by Cordero Patterson. Now that was his only kickoff return of the game, but he made it count, and I honestly thought he was going for a touchdown, and I was going to text Bronson and be like, holy shit, Devin Hester! But, obviously he's not as good as Devin Hester. I don't want to hear anybody say, he's the greatest kick returner of all time. No, he's not. Devin Hester is still the greatest kick returner of all time. Second is Brian Mitchell. So everybody needs to shut their faces when they talk about greatest kick returners, punt returners of all time. But yeah, Cordell Patterson, I think he set the tone early on with that 38-yard return, and set that tone for it was going to be a defensive battle and a punting battle. Of course, John said that Julian Edelman, 10 receptions, 141 yards. He was ultimately the Super Bowl MVP. There's a lot of people out there that say he should be in the Hall of Fame, that he's a Hall of Fame candidate now.
No.
I don't think winning Super Bowl MVP locks it up for you. I mean,
Tell it to Flacco.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll be the first one to tell you that. Yeah, I mean,
well,
that was one hell of a run, but
yeah, it wasn't necessarily. It's not necessarily the fact of Edelman winning the Super Bowl MVP. It's because statistically they said he's the second greatest wide receiver in the postseason, next to obviously Jerry Rice. But my thing is, you have a guy and let me make sure this is correct before I start spouting off everything. But
I mean, Jabbar Gaffney has more catches as a Patriot than he does.
Yeah, Isaac Bruce is not a Hall of Famer. Like Isaac Bruce, who is top 5 of receiving yards of all time, top 5 of receiving touchdowns of all time, part of the greatest show on turf, and all that stuff. And he's not in the Hall of Fame. Let's see here.
He would definitely get in way before Julian Edelman was even considered, in my opinion.
Yeah. Isaac Bruce is number 5 all time in receiving yards. In terms of receptions, he is out of the top 44. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He is 13th of all time. So,
right. See, when it comes down to you can have the playoff stat, fine. You can have that little asterisk there, but let's see your regular season numbers in comparison to everyone else. There's wide receivers out there that have played hell of a lot longer than he has and never fucking had a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
like, it's like trying to say Calvin Johnson's a lesser receiver than Julian Edelman because he's done more in the playoffs. Like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, just to say guys who have more receiving yards and receptions than him who aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. And I'm looking here. You could throw in there maybe Chad Johnson. I don't think necessarily he's a Hall of Famer, but he deserves higher than Julian Edelman. Calvin Johnson. Fucking way better than Julian Edelman, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Hines Ward deserves to be in the Hall of Fame before Julian Edelman. Jason Witten, definitely 1010% deserves to be in the Hall of Fame more than fucking Julian Edelman. Torrey Holt deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So I don't want to hear, oh, it's because statistically he's the second greatest next to Jerry Rice. Who the fuck? That's because the Patriots make the fucking playoffs every single year. So you can easily be the second greatest. You think if Randy Moss wasn't on the Patriots those fucking years, that he wouldn't have beat Jerry Rice? Think about that. Just think about it. Jerry Rice's records would have been blown out if Randy Moss had switched to the Patriots in 2002 or 2003, whenever he got traded to the Raiders. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Or 2004 was when he got traded. So, but even still, even if he got traded sooner than that, when the Patriots went on their run, he would have easily beaten all the records. But is what it is. I don't want to hear any more Julian Edelman talk and stuff like that. And then there was the halftime show as well. The halftime show was fucking, I don't know how you guys feel about it. Bronson, you're the biggest Maroon 5 fan, I know, and you love yourself some Adam Levine. He did not sound good, in my opinion.
He didn't sound great, but I also will say he actually was singing, and I commend him for that. So he probably had the chance to lip sing and fake it until whatever. But I mean, there's definite points where the dude was out of breath. Like you could tell, all right, he's huffing and puffing, he's moving around, jiggling it a little bit, and you have to you're practically running across that stage because you have to do so much in such a short amount of time. So I'm pretty sure he was exhausted, and I think that affected his singing. But I don't fucking care if he sounded great or bad, but at least he fucking sang.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I give him
don't remember
props
the
for
last
that.
time someone who sang. I don't even remember. The last legit person that friggin' sang, was it Prince?
Maybe, but even still, I heard people though that have said they've gone to Maroon 5 concerts, and he just sounded like he honestly did not want to be there.
I've seen him live several times.
Yeah, but there was people out there that said that he just sounded like he really didn't want to be there. Like he's just like, all right, time to get this paycheck, and just kind of he just sang the songs, but had no real soul to it, had no energy to it. He was just like, I'm just singing the song, and then I'm gonna take off my shirt and show off my nipples.
Yeah.
I will say, I was pretty surprised that they let him sing, because from everything I've heard, at least especially from the last few years, that they are very strict with the performance. And I remember seeing even a lot of performances had to be recorded prior to the halftime show. And I do commend him for doing that. I mean, I can't imagine running around doing all that. And you could tell after we got snubbed for Sweet Victory, when he was walking through the crowd, I mean, you could just tell that man was out of breath.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll never know what it's like on that big stage. I just know from my days in Hydro Kill when I was running around, that shit's hard, man. He's been doing it, for many years. But I didn't really pay too much attention to the halftime show because, I don't know if Max, if you were watching, but I definitely put on that WWE halftime heat match.
I had both on, so I watched that and I watched the halftime show. But even still, we had the halftime show up loud enough to where I could hear it, and I was like, "This is boring. I'm gonna watch wrestling instead." So, but no,
I don't remember the last time watching a halftime show and being like, "Oh my god, that was amazing." I don't remember it.
Lady Gaga's was pretty impressive.
Lady Gaga's was good. Katy Perry, even though a lot of people hate her now, man, she had a fucking great halftime show. Honestly, it was awesome. The costume changes, the fucking the big ass lion she was riding, shit like that. That was cool. And then of course that birthed the floss dance as well that night. I mean, say what you want about the floss dance, but fucking, it was a cool show. But as John alluded to as well, they snubbed everybody of a good Sweet Victory because they showed SpongeBob, and instead of having Maroon 5 perform Sweet Victory and then having a Travis Scott whatever, they fucking just led into fucking Travis Scott, where half the song, I'm told, again, I didn't listen to it because at that point I went to take a shit, but half the words he was saying was bleeped out. I think
Yeah.
that's what people heard. Yeah. So what the fuck is the point of having him go and perform on the stage? And I get it because, different culture, different rap. But if he's not gonna, rap and change the words up a little bit so that way he whatever, then why have it at fucking all? Why rob people when you tell people you're gonna play a certain thing? We're gonna play Sweet Victory. Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the SpongeBob tribute. We're gonna do it at the last thing. Go, fuck you guys, bye.
Yeah, the little 2-second clip was bullshit.
Yeah, the little
I fucking pulled out my phone. I was like, oh shit, they're gonna do it. And then as soon as I pull my phone out, nope.
Yeah. And you had the perfect band to do it. You had Maroon 5, who definitely can easily do that song. Fucking Adam Levine could easily hit that. Like, I don't get it at all. It's like the NFL, after they just want to try and try and try and try and try and try and try to please. And they, every single time, they just like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna do our own thing. Yeah, fuck you guys. And it just was awful. So, that's all I really have to say about the halftime show. It was that. It was also weird because it was like I was back in like 2004, 2005. Like I was back in 8th grade, 9th grade, because they played She Will Be Loved, and Big Boy sang fucking I Like the Way You Move. And I was like, wait, hold on. Am I playing Tiger Woods PGA Golf again? Like, what the fuck is going on here? So that's about it, though. When it comes to the Super Bowl, it was boring. I was hoping for a better game and everything. Real quick, everybody in agreement that Gronk retires?
I don't know.
I mean,
he's holding out for a reason.
I think he's done. If they don't want to bring him back at the current rate, if they say, hey, if they don't either extend him or if there's like, hey, we're going to release you. Because there was the rumors that last year he wanted to retire. He was going to retire if he was traded to the Lions. Like, it was basically done, and they were going to inform Gronk, and Gronk was like, well, if you trade me, I'm retiring right now. Like, fuck you guys, essentially.
Right.
So that's what makes me think he will. I just think that he saved up the best for last, and like I said, Bill Belichick kind of barely used him at all. And I'm not saying, and I don't think it's because of a lack of ability. I still think he can get up there for point of attack and everything like that. But at this point, he's a great blocker. I mean, God, if you could keep Gronk, but put like 10, 15 pounds on him and just move him to right or left tackle, I mean, he would still play fucking phenomenal because he is a great blocker. But I think his career is done. I think he played his last minutes, and I think he'll go down. If you had to say, speaking of Hall of Famers, if you had to say Gronk Hall of Fame, yes or no? Yes or no?
I'd say eventually. I don't know about
Yeah,
first
I'd
ballot,
say
but
he's
eventually.
he's not going to be like a first ballot. Like, it's going to take him several times to get in.
Yeah,
Just because the tight end position is so thin in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the same thing will be said about Calvin Johnson. I think Calvin Johnson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because when he played, he was the best wide receiver on the field, bar none, hands down. You can't tell me any different. But I think, obviously people go, well, he didn't play in the playoffs that much. He didn't play that long in his career, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But I think when it's all said and done, I think Calvin Johnson, same thing. It'll take him a couple tries, but he'll be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see about Gronk because we'll find out next week or the week after whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go.
The only thing I'll say about Gronk possibly retiring, I think it's a smart decision because a lot of people are saying, he could have a big career in Hollywood, and I mean that's just millions of dollars. Like, why risk your body even more when you could just, go on to Hollywood, make millions, and he could do that for like the next 20, 30 years if he wanted to, if it worked out for him.
Yeah, and the thing with Gronk too is people don't realize he's smart. He actually all his endorsement money and stuff like that, he's never touched that. So everything he makes in endorsements, he's just pocketed away in his savings account. He's just lived off of his off of his regular NFL contract, and he doesn't spend that much. Like, everybody wants to make him out to be this big 69 party guy, but no, he's actually very smart and he's good with his money. Like, that's what I keep hearing about him, is that, like, we won't hear that there's a Gronk bankruptcy anytime soon because he's been really smart with his money. He hasn't touched anything of his big contract and his guarantees or anything. So I commend him for that. But yeah, I think he's done. But yeah. We're finally done with the Super Bowl. Thank fucking God. And yeah, so next is, obviously, we're now officially into the off season. And we have some news for this off season because and it kicks off, basically, just how as quick as they, get released, they sign a contract. Robert Alford, 6-year player with the Vikings, was going to hit a $9 million cap figure with them. Got released by the Falcons, turns around, signs a 3-year, $22 million contract that could be worth up to $24 million, with the Arizona Cardinals, who now have a second cornerback. As long as he plays well and as long as he's healthy, they have a guy to pair up with Patrick Peterson and line up with him, because the previous guy they had was Benny Benwickery. And let me tell you something. Benny Benwickery is an awful fucking defensive back. He is awful. I've never liked Benny Benwickery. And he was during that time in Carolina where they had no defensive backs, and he couldn't even make the fucking team out there. He was so bad. He's awful. Cut him. He sucks. But John, I'll start with you. Good pickup by the Cardinals, or do you think they overpaid for him?
I think at where they're at right now, I think it's a good pickup.
Okay, and Bronson?
I think it's a good pickup. The contract's not too absurd. It's $22 million. I mean, it's a little shy, a little more than $8 million. It's not bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's a good pickup too. Like I said, the Cardinals, I mean, they're going to be rebuilding. Obviously, I think they're going to rebuild this year. But next year, I think if they can keep him, if he plays well, then you still have fucking Patrick Peterson, and you can easily pair them up together. So
they're not that far away from. I wouldn't put them in rebuild mode completely. I mean, they just need to bring in an offensive lineman, maybe
several.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not far off. Their defense isn't terrible. There's freaking teams in the playoffs with far worse defenses than theirs, and they have a fucking franchise running back. They have their quarterback of the future. They have, the vet receiver and the young guy. They're not as far away as you think they are. Do not be surprised if they're a 9-7 team this year.
I wouldn't say 9-7. I will say 6-10, because the only reason I say that,
I said don't be surprised if they are.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the Cardinals,
and then you're looking at, with our soon-to-be mock draft, who they're getting at number 1.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
You pair that with friggin' Chandler Jones.
I get it, but the only reason I say they're in rebuilding, because they got to figure out. You've got a first-time head coach in Cliff Kingsbury, who, yes, in the college he had an innovative offense, but it'll be interesting to see how that's going to translate. How well that's going to translate into the NFL. 2, that offensive line needs to be rebuilt, because they really don't have an offensive line, and it's not like they have a quarterback like I'll just sort of like a Carson Wentz or Big Ben or Cam Newton or hell, even like a Russell Wilson, guys who can go out there and extend the plays and use their feet. Josh Rosen, great arm, has one of the best arms, is very accurate, was the most pro-ready quarterback this draft had, is a statue. He is your Eli Manning, your Peyton Manning, your Tom Brady. He has to have a clean pocket in order for him to succeed. And they don't have that good of an offensive line. So I would love for them to rebuild that. It'll be interesting to see where they go with that. But they got to start with that, and then they got to start with David Johnson. They got to get him back in the game. And that's why I said I foresee them. You are correct. Browns, I will say, don't be surprised as well if they finish 9-7. I will say that because they do have a pretty good defense. You know, you still have Budda Baker, Patrick Peterson. You've got Chandler Jones, and if they can figure out what to do with Hassan Reddick, I still like Hassan Reddick a lot.
Yeah, and you got Vance Joseph over there, who's like one of the better defensive coordinators on the market this offseason. So
yeah, so
I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a top 10 D, and they got a favorable schedule now after being last place in that division. So
yeah, they just gotta retool that offense. So it'll be interesting to see. I say
I wouldn't be surprised if the NFC West looks like how the NFC North looked this year. Next season.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight race all around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I could definitely see it too. So.
I mean, you got Seahawks, Cardinals, Niners, and Rams. Like what?
Yeah.
So.
All right. The other news that came out was Nick Foles. So he had his option picked up, his $20 million option, which then he immediately voided his option, bought his way back to free agency, which means he has to pay $2 million to the Eagles to become a free agent, but not so fast because it's reported that the Eagles are going to franchise tag him and then they're expected to trade him to one of the teams. They're looking for at least a third rounder for the Super Bowl MVP and of course the guy who's led them to the playoffs for the past 2 years. What do you think, guys? You think this is a smart move by the Eagles?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I think they'll get a taker, but I also think with all that they're doing to Nick Foles, I also think they're going to respect him. And I really think it's going to be one of those situations like, which team do you want to go to? Kind of like what they did with Alex Smith. He got his options. And, what the Browns were in on that, right? Weren't they one of the teams in on the Alex Smith sweepstakes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it was 3 different teams came out and said, hey, we'll trade you this. Alex got the pick. Then they worked out a contract prior to said trade. I think it's going to be contingent on those things. I wouldn't be surprised if it looked like an Alex Smith type situation. So I feel like, 2 or 3 teams, maybe like Jacksonville, I don't see the Redskins doing it.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
But I could just see 2 or 3 teams, putting feelers out there, and seeing where it takes them.
Yeah, I could see, just looking at possible teams out there, you could see teams like what you said. It's going to be contending teams, so like Jacksonville. Definitely, yes. Let's see here. I'm just looking. The Ravens. No, I'm joking.
About that. I mean, the Broncos I could possibly see.
I mean, I'm gonna throw this out there. I don't think it'll happen, but the Giants. I mean, if they want to, I mean, yeah, it's trading interdivisional, but if you can work out something with the Giants, maybe trade for something there. I mean, that's a possibility. You can't ever throw out the Broncos, even though they've tried it.
What I would love to see is like a Kyle Lauletta for Case Keenum.
Oh my God! Oh, that'd be so bad.
Hey man, Pat Shurmur and Case get to reunite.
Yeah. Sounds terrible. So, but yeah, John, you think this is a good move by the Eagles?
I mean, I'll say the one thing that I've told some of my Eagles friends, and I don't know. I mean, obviously Carson Wentz is a good quarterback, but I just feel like letting go of Foles, it's a tough situation because I mean, what if they keep him, they gotta pay him boatloads of money, right?
Yeah, if they keep both of them, I mean, it's not tenable to keep both of them. They'd have to trade one or the other. The only reason I think they're obviously they're heavily invested in Carson Wentz because they traded up for him and he's got talent. I mean, he has talent to be a top 10, top 5 quarterback in the league. The issue with Foles and the issue with everything Holy crap! What is playing in the background?
Game of Thrones. You can't stop me from smoking, bitch.
What do you have? The microphone and hold on. You have the microphone and
I am the laptop.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Addict.
Yeah. No, I mean, what else is
the thing with Carson Wentz that scares me? I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna finish up my point now that Bronson's gonna go smoke. The thing that scares me with Carson Wentz is his back.
Yeah, he can't stay healthy.
At first, well, it's not even just that he can't stay healthy because he has that, but how bad is his back? Because at first when they said, oh yeah, it's just, he'll be out for a couple weeks, it's just a strained back, to all of a sudden he's got a fracture, he's got a couple fractures in his vertebrae, and he missed the rest of the season. So how bad are we talking about his back? Like, is it one of those things where it's like, now you can't really trade him because nobody wants him? Or is it because, you feel healthy enough in his back that he's going to, work out everything? Because I was totally with you guys, or I was totally against you guys when you said, oh, you got to keep Foles, But listening to everything and looking more into it, I mean, again, I love Carson Wentz. I love the talent that he has. He is honestly, if I could have created a quarterback, he was my perfect quarterback. Big guy. Has good speed, has a big arm, has decent touch on the ball, very coachable, stuff like that. I love, and he doesn't necessarily have to be a leader on that team. That team's got many vocal leaders. You have Fletcher Cox, you have Lane Johnson, you have vocal leaders for that. You just need a guy in there to just manage the huddle and play well, and I think he can do that. But man, his injuries scare me. Yeah, they really do.
And if
go
it
peep
wasn't
JJ's Facebook status.
if I'm gonna check it out now. If it wasn't for Foles, they wouldn't have a Super Bowl right now still, and they wouldn't have made the playoffs this year. In my opinion, there's no way they would still have 0 Super Bowls. They wouldn't have made the playoffs this year. And honestly, I mean, they could have snuck their way back in the Super Bowl this year if Alshon Jeffrey would have caught that ball in the end. And I know there are other factors in that game, but I mean, if it wasn't for Foles, they wouldn't be this team right now. No doubt about it in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it the one talking about Brady?
Yeah, and then read my comment.
Yeah.
Read out loud.
Keeping it now.
We're no sure. No. Wentz is God-fearing Christian team before himself. Man, great. Make a ton of it. 25 million, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Wait. Did you read it out loud, fool?
Okay, so you said, best hope your voice is heard ASAP, or y'all will be in the list once you pay Wentz. Basically, our good buddy Jack J. Jones, also known as JJ, said Brady's salary was $15 million, including bonuses, which technically yes, but his cap hit is going to be $27 million, and they're going to rework his deal. But regardless, he was saying, guarantees for Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Jimmy G, so on and so forth. And, he said Tom was the only one who made the playoffs and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. Bronson said, best hope your voice is heard ASAP, but y'all will be in that list once you pay Wentz, which blows my mind because your Eagles cap is in the pooper. He said,
JJ's, yeah.
Knew this would come up. We're in no rush for that big contract. We don't have to do it right now. But Wentz is a God-fearing Christian team before himself. Man, granted, he'll make a ton, but he might go the Brady route considering he already has a ring. Maybe 25 to 30 million a year. But knowing him in our front office, it'll be straight. Shit gets done. You get the point. Yeah, I could see that too. It'll be interesting to see what he gets as a contract, because you have to factor that in when you're the Eagles. You have to factor in the injuries, and you have to factor in the talent he has. You got to come to that happy median. So I agree with JJ though. I definitely think $25 to $30 million is about his range. He shouldn't make Aaron Rodgers money, nor should he make any others. But yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear Emma?
Yeah, we heard Emma.
Ramsay Snow just got killed.
I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I have no idea what the fuck.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Jesus.
We're uncultured swine.
I know. We're the worst of the worst. Arr. So Nick Foles, not yet on a new team, but we'll see that when it comes up. And finally, the last news, last two bits of news we'll talk about. I'll throw this one real quick. Julius Peppers retired from the NFL, of course, in that vaunted 2002 draft class with, of course, Ed Reed, Hall of Fame player. I mean, you can't tell me he's not a Hall of Fame player, period, because he is. Are you back downstairs, Bronson? Like, Jesus Christ.
The microphone picks up everything. Love it.
For real. Love it. It just doesn't pick up his heavy ass breathing, which I love. So
you better hope that pee though.
All right. 2010, he joined up with the Bears, 6-year, $91.5 million deal. Went to the Packers for a couple years before he came home to Carolina. Bronson, like we talked about before, he did play for the Bears. He'll go in as a Carolina Panther, but what was your fondest memories with Julius Peppers as a Bear?
Man, I the day he signed. I just remember being in bumfuck Texas and seeing that and being really ecstatic and buying the throwback jersey that I still currently own. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's so many. He kind of. I don't want to talk about Julius Peppers. He went to the Packers, man. I'm done. It's like a girlfriend that cheated on you. He'll get in the Hall of Fame. That's all I'll say. Congrats to Julius. And one of these days, I'll party in his mansion in freaking Carolina, and then we'll talk.
But until then, fuck you, Julius Peppers. Yeah, you told us about that. Yeah. So,
anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, you know, he was great when he was with the Bears. Blah blah blah. No, you're just like, he went to the Packers. Well, you guys released him, so where was he supposed to go?
Anywhere but Green Bay.
Yeah, anywhere but Green Bay.
Yeah, but they paid him the money. I mean, you can't hate it, you know. And he had no.
I can. Okay. And I will.
Okay.
It's like if Ed Reed went to the Steelers, John.
Ugh, God damn it! Yeah.
You'd hate him. Get out of my face.
Talk about low blow. God damn it! Now I have that in my mind.
All right. Well, I thought we were gonna have a little epic tribute there for Julius Peppers, but whatever. Fucking Bronson had to go shit on all over that. So never mind.
Kirk Cousins went to the Giants.
I don't care. Good for him. Like
bullshit.
He deserved the money. Okay, so the other bit of news, the final bit of news we're going to talk about really quick. Antonio Brown news, which is basically Antonio Brown reiterated he wants a trade. He doesn't want to be in Pittsburgh. But now there's an issue because there was no arrest, but he was involved in a domestic dispute in January where he was apparently with a woman in Florida. Of course, it always happens in fucking Florida. And she called the police, and they confirmed out that, like I said, no arrests were made, but probably just a verbal dispute with Antonio Brown. Guys, what the fuck do you think what do you make of this? Like, I don't know how I feel about Antonio Brown. This guy is obviously talented. The guy is when he's hot, you know, he's obviously the best wide receiver in the game, but Jesus Christ, man, it just feels like he's just running into that kind of diva territory.
I mean, the dude literally is going downhill quick. I mean, this guy stayed pretty clean and quiet for most of his career, and then like this season when
he got his big contract, and ever since he got his big contract, he's just not. There was this scandal with Mike Tomlin with him filming the locker room. There's the constant bickering with Big Ben, and then now you have this where again, this is not the last time he's dealt with police. You know, last year, it says right here, was sued by a man claiming that the wide receiver nearly killed his children by throwing furniture off the balcony of his Florida home.
And I mean, I agree with what Bronson said when we were texting about this. I mean, now you're probably looking at like a third or fourth round pick. And I mean, yeah, he doesn't want to play in Pittsburgh, but are the Steelers really going to give him up for only a third or fourth rounder? I mean, and do any teams want this distraction? I mean, this guy.
And the
has
cap hit they're going to have to take just to trade him.
Yeah, exactly. The cap hit, and now, how's this guy going to fare in other locker rooms? I mean, he's been so used to, what seems like Mike Tomlin being way too laid back with, some of these star players, and he can't go somewhere else and act the same. There's no way. I mean, I just don't see it. The dude is going to go down as one of the best wide receivers in today's game, at least. But I mean, who wants that kind of distraction? I mean, I don't want it. Screw that.
Yeah. I don't know how you, again, I don't know what your thought process of everything, if you're willing to make a trade for him, if you're willing to trade whatever, but I don't know what you do exactly, because it's tough to say, only for the simple fact that he's such a polarizing player now. Are you going to get the Antonio Brown that's going to come in there, come hard, work hard, play hard, stuff like that? Or are you going to get the diva Antonio Brown? And I'm over it. And as much as I like Antonio Brown, he needs to get his shit together. Like, he needs to figure out what the fuck is going on with his life. He needs to get shit together, because I'm done. I'm over it. So, what about you, Bronson? Any words, or you're good?
Yeah, I'm over him as well. It's gotten to his head. It's gotten to a point where I think he's angry with the organization. I think he's acting up because he just has a big case of I don't give a fuck. And he's not realizing he's putting his talent level as a higher value than what headaches he could cause for another team. I think he thinks truly a team will take a risk on him, which he may be right. But when there's a lot of other teams that he could very well want to play for that are going to be like, we just don't want to deal with it. We don't want the drama. We don't want the money. And you've shown us nothing over these last several months as to why we should risk that. I mean, at this rate, it's almost feeling like whatever team tries to trade for him, they're going to ask and implore that he probably takes a pay cut. Like, it's feeling in some sort of direction of that, like no trade at all, unless it's a team that just has an absurd amount of cap, like the Jets or the Niners. I doubt the Colts make a play at him. So outside of that, I just don't see the team willing to take on that money and give up that sort of compensation. And I don't think teams are going to be asked to give up that sort of compensation either. So I don't really fucking know, and I'm done.
All right. All right, let's see here. Yeah, and that's how I feel about it too. It'll be interesting to see. We're obviously not heard the last of this. Again, if he gets to another team, I mean, what are you trading for, honestly? Are you trading for the good Antonio Brown? Are you trading for the terrible Antonio Brown? It's just, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. So, let's see here. I'm just trying to pull up stuff here. Just give me a second here. That's for the Kansas City fucking Chiefs. I just want. All right. It's mock draft time, people. I'm excited to do this. I love the draft. Bronson, you've been to the last 2 drafts. Are we still trying to make a third? Are you trying to make it 3 for 3 this year, or are we?
Dude, I really don't know. I may enter and see what happens, but like my incentive for going is like non-existent. Because like I've gone to like see my team pick every year, and I would have to go.
I just think that and I'm just throwing this out there, if the 3 of us went there and just partied and could try to figure out everything and maybe even try to meet up with some prospects and be like, hey, you know, you want to do a quick interview or whatever. If we could do that even, like, that would be cool. But
Yeah.
we could talk about it more later. You know, Nashville's not too far from me, from all three of us. It's about 12-hour drive for me and about a 12-hour drive for you guys. So, you know, we can meet up there and just make it a couple-day trip. Just the boys, the podcast boys.
Squad up.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
But it'll be interesting. I mean, Bronson, I know you've got out of all three of us, you probably have a very busy schedule ahead of you for this year. So obviously you're getting you have to plan a bachelor party, which Garrett was doing with us, and then you have to also plan your wedding and among other things. So, you know, it's completely up to you if we just want to hang out during the draft or whatever, if we want to do like another live podcast but during Twitch, and we want to draft all together, stuff like that, we can do so. So,
Okay. Something to talk about. I mean, hell, man, anything can happen.
Hell yeah.
My GM is very aggressive, so
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if he tried to trade into the second or third round. So
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. So we'll
and we're
definitely
gonna have that extra third round pick in the 2020 draft to work with. So we'll see.
Well, and that's what I hear is interesting, is that the first 10 picks are going to be like solid, you know, solid prospects, like knock you out, like the top 10 board overall. But then I've heard that the draft gets deeper into the second round, like way, way, way deeper into the second round. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either if the Bears go and they say, you know what? Fuck it, we're trading up. Like we'll suffer for this year one more time or whatever, but like, yeah, next year, like this year we need to get this guy, so on and so forth. So, all right, so we are going to do a draft. It's going to work round robin, like I said earlier into the show. I'm going to start off with the first pick. Bronson will be second, and John will be third. So the first pick goes to the Arizona Cardinals. They of course had a 3-13 season. They fired Steve Wilkes. They brought in Cliff Kingsbury to revamp that offense, but they are not going to go offense. I'm going to agree with a lot of experts, and I'm going to agree with a lot of big boards out there. They're going to take Nick Bosa, who is a fantastic prospect. Yes, he suffered an injury. I understand that, and he's been out since middle of October, hasn't played a game since then, but the guy was a dominant force last year. This reminds me a lot of kind of like a Jadeveon Clowney, where he's the best player in the draft who hasn't played a lot, and people are going to make a case for Quinnen Williams. They're going to make a case for Josh Allen, the linebacker. They're going to make a couple different cases, but ultimately I think Nick Bosa is a smart decision here to pair with Chandler Jones. Bronson, you are second. You have the San Francisco 49ers.
Golly. See, I know this pick is going to be interesting because I could see it being defensive line or offensive line. Like, I could see it being a reach for Jonah Williams, but I think I'm going to have to go with Ed Oliver on this one.
Really? Ed Oliver over Quinnen Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like his upside more. Alabama players kind of like have a ceiling, in my opinion, for the most part.
Okay, well, that's the first shock of the draft I see here. So, wow. Yeah, Ed Oliver. I love the guy. He has been on everybody's radar since he's been a freshman.
I just see him, and I just see like that's your leader on defense. Like that's the guy who would come in and like take over.
Yeah. So
just with his personality and everything.
Yeah, and obviously they traded down and traded with your Bears to get Solomon Thomas, who hasn't been a good football player. So yeah. I think if you replace him with Ed Oliver, that's a good deal right there in of itself. So, excuse me there, John, you're up next. You have the third pick, and you gotta go with the Jets, New York Jets. Who are you taking?
Well, I thought Josh Allen was going to go number 2, and I was going to go with Quinnen Williams for the Jets. But if Josh Allen is available for the Jets at number 3, I think they have to go with Josh Allen, honestly.
Yeah, Josh Allen, again, another great linebacking prospect. Very fast, very twitchy. Can play in a 4-3 or 3-4. Very good, and I love his confidence level. He said multiple times in multiple interviews, anybody who doesn't, if I'm not the number one overall pick, whoever doesn't select me is going to regret it. So I love the confidence. I love the pick. And yeah, the Jets obviously need a pass rusher. They do not have any good pass rushers there, so I love it. I'll
say this: I don't like two guys in the NFL named Josh Allen,
and they'll both be in New York.
It's weird. I know, and they play in the same division, so they're gonna play each other twice. Yeah,
Josh Allen with the sack on Josh Allen.
They have to do a commercial together. I
really hope so.
Yeah. So, I'm up next. I have the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders, they obviously tanked this year. They got a couple first-round picks, which one of us will select a little bit later on this year's draft. But since you guys have taken Ed Oliver and Josh Allen, I think the next best player available for them is Quinnen Williams. I don't necessarily think they need a Quinnen Williams, but it doesn't hurt to have Quinnen Williams. The guy is a dominant force. He showed it during the college playoffs. I know Alabama got blown out, but he was there. He was in Trevor Lawrence's face. Trevor Lawrence is just a beast when it comes to all that stuff. But yeah, Quinnen Williams, solid defensive tackle, pass rusher, run stopper. I think if the Oakland Raiders get him at 4, they'll be extremely excited and happy. So he's not Khalil Mack, but he's potentially Aaron Donald, which I'll take an Aaron Donald. So, up next, Bronson. This is where I think the fun begins. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right, and I think to me, this is a no-brainer. I know you got Todd Bowles over there, so I know some of these other juicy prospects like Farrell from Clemson. But I think, and then there's Devin White you could bring in. But I really think if Bruce Arians is going to maximize Mr. Eat a Dub over there for 1 year and try to prove to the organization that he's worthwhile keeping, you need to bring in that tackle. And I think you're going to have to draft Jonah Williams with this pick.
Yep. I agree.
That's a very solid choice. I like that pick a lot. I know there's a lot of people out there, and maybe we'll talk about him later. I don't know where he'll be, but there's a guy by the name of Josh. I think it's Josh Jacobs. I think he's a running back from Alabama. Let me look it up real quick. I think his name is Josh Jacobs. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, but he is Josh Jacobs from Alabama. A lot of people say he's actually a better prospect than Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott, guys like that. Like, he is a very, very good running back prospect. So after drafting Ronald Jones the second round and him not being productive and being kind of meh, I could see them reaching for him because he is a very, very good. And the only reason I say reach is because I think this team has other needs, and I think there's other teams that have bigger needs than running back. But yeah, I love Jonah Williams. I think whether you play him at tackle, guard, center, wherever the fuck you need him to be, he'll be there and he'll be a dominant force. I love the pick, Bronson. John, number 6, you've got the other New York team. It just works out like that, baby. The New York Giants. Who do you got?
All right. So if this was a week ago, I would have easily picked Dwayne Haskins, but there's a lot coming out of New York saying that they're going to stick with Eli. And if that's the case, I think they need some help on defense. So I'm going to go with Devin White, linebacker out of LSU.
Love it. I love the pick. I absolutely love it. If they're not gonna move on from Eli, then I feel like, yes, you play with Eli one more year and you just wait for that 2020 class, because the 2020 class is phenomenal, great. And Devin White is a great linebacker. Have you guys watched any clips of him?
Oh, yeah. I've seen plenty of LSU games this year, and I really love that guy.
The guy lives, breathes, and eats running backs. Like he is in their faces. He is a defensive leader. He reminds me of like a bigger Jamal Adams, like a guy who is going to be just a vocal leader on that defense. So I love the pick there for the Giants. So I'm up at number 7 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a tough position, and it's all going to depend on what they do about Nick Foles. I think this is a team that if they don't want Nick Foles, that they will draft a quarterback like Dwayne Haskins. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that's the move they're going to go in. I think they will trade for Nick Foles. I think they will get that done. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to there's rumors out there that they're going to release what's his name? He signed with them from the Broncos. Who was the Broncos?
Calais Campbell.
No, not Calais Campbell. The other guy.
Malik Jackson.
Yeah, Malik Jackson. They're going to release him. And I think they're going to go Rashawn Gary, defensive tackle out of Michigan. I think he's a perfect replace. He's a lot cheaper, but a lot better. He's a lot younger. He is, and that's a luxury pick right there. I know people are saying, oh, well, they got to take a quarterback, right? I think this is a team that's that's just a quarterback away from contending. I don't necessarily think they need to go for a quarterback in the sense of I don't think they necessarily need to, they need to go out there and get a rookie quarterback and struggle for a year. They have a very limited window. They have Leonard Fournette, who knows what the fuck they're doing there. They have Jalen Ramsey, so they got to get younger. And like I said, I think their window is closing, so they'll get the trade done for Foles. And I think, like I said, they'll go Rashawn Gary, make that defense stronger. Bronson, I know you're going to hate this, but you got to pick for the Detroit Lions at number 8.
They're going to add to that defense. You got a first or second year coach over there that's a defensive minded guy. Not too many pieces you need on offense. You could argue maybe a receiver, maybe a lineman, but after Jonah Williams coming off the board, I think you got to take Cleveland Farrell out of Clemson.
Boom, I agree.
That's a very good pick. I love that pick. Replaces Ziggy Ansah, who knows how the fuck old he is. But yeah, very great pick there. Another guy I could see going here too is Greedy Williams, just because you pair him with Darius Slay and wide receivers are not going to know what to do. But yeah, I agree. Cleveland Farrell's is a fucking great pick.
They have, I just don't think they have any pass rush whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it goes defensive. It just depends on where Cleveland Farrell falls, but yeah, if he's there at 8, he's the pick. John, number 9, Buffalo Bills.
Another New York team, man. I got the trifecta. This is awesome. All right, so last year they went with Josh Allen, and they're obviously going to stick with him for a while. The next best thing to do is to protect your now in your mind franchise quarterback. So they got to go offensive lineman, and I think they're going to go with Florida's Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor, very good. Definitely can fit anywhere on that line, left tackle, right tackle, anywhere that you need him to in terms of that. So, and they have a pretty solid left tackle in Cordy Glenn, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. No, he got traded. That's right, to the Bengals. Never mind. Disregard. Yeah, they need a left tackle. So, yeah, Jawan Taylor, very solid pick right there. Number 10, I am up next with the Denver Broncos. This is a team that needs a quarterback, whether they want to admit it or not. Casey Keenum's not the answer. They have their running back in Phillip Lindsay. They're going to go, not Dwayne Haskins. They're not going to go Kyler Murray. They're going to go Drew Lock. From all intents and purposes, John Elway loves Drew Lock. He absolutely loves him. He wants to marry him. He probably wants to birth his own children. He is a very strong-arm quarterback out of Missouri. There's questions about his accuracy. There's questions about his understanding of playbooks and everything, but big arm. I mean, very Josh Allen-like arm. Like he is going to have one of the strongest arms. And you got to have a quarterback out there in the NFC West when you have to compete with the guys of Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, and of course David Carr. Derek Carr. I always fuck it. One of the Carr brothers. So
I agree. I honestly think that he's going to be the best quarterback out of the three, in my honest opinion.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I still think this is not really that good of a quarterback class. And the quarterbacks will be taken in the first round, and I bet you there will be trades up. But like I said, I don't know. I have red flags. Not saying that he can't overcome the red flags. I just have red flags when it comes to
It's okay to have red flags, man. Look at my Bears draft class of quarterbacks and everyone had a fucking red flag.
Yep. I feel you on that. So, Bronson, you're up next. Cincinnati Bengals, new head coach. Zach Taylor's in there. They're looking for a defensive coordinator. They had one of the worst defenses. Are you going defense?
Yeah. They literally are struggling to get anyone to want to take that job. And I think whoever they bring in, they're going to have to convince, like, look, you're going to get the first pick, okay? Like, we have a quarterback. We have a number one receiver. We have a number one running back. We have a mediocre offensive line. We can address that in round 2. I think they take Greedy here.
Greedy. Oh, that's a great pick there. Greedy Williams, 6'3", 210 pounds, can be very physical. Richard Sherman-like, very in your face. Again, another leader that could lead this defense for great things. So I love the pick. John, number 12, not a New York team. We're done with New York teams.
Damn.
But you got the Green Bay Packers this time. New head coach, first time head coach Matt LaFleur. This is a tricky situation you got here.
And watch yourself.
Well, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to surprise a lot of people with this pick. I know it's kind of high for a position like this, but honestly, I have seen a lot of Iowa games this year, and I think they're going to go with T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. I know that's really early in the draft for a tight end, but I've watched this guy, and dude's a playmaker. I know they got Jimmy Graham. I think I haven't really been sold on him in a few years, but T.J. Hawkinson.
You think they take him over Fant?
I think so. I mean,
that's what I've heard that in more recent weeks that Fant was like the guy, but I've heard T.J. Hawkinson is actually starting to creep up and is starting to catch up to Noah Fant, and teams actually prefer him.
And if he can learn really quick, like just how to play the NFL game from Jimmy Graham, then okay, all right, I understand. I'm gonna go out there and do my thing. Like the dude can play, man. He's a straight up playmaker, and I know the Packers haven't really had like. Even with Jimmy Graham, they haven't really had a solid tight end that's really stood out in a long time. And I think he could be the guy. I mean, he's young. He could learn from one of the I guess I could say greats, one of the better tight ends maybe over the last 5 years. And Jimmy Graham, if he could just learn the basics from him, I think he could really prevail. I mean, I know tight ends don't usually come out in the rookie year and ball out, but I mean, give the guy 2 years, and I think he could be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I love the pick, man. It's a very good pick there. It gives Rodgers another weapon. So number 13, I've got the Miami Dolphins. This is a team that needs everything. Just about. I mean, they're an old team. They have some issues there. Just looking at the board,
coach.
New defensive coach. From what all intents and purposes, they said they're not going to take a quarterback until 2020. I'm going to stick with that idea, and I'm going to go with BPA right now. BPA on a couple of the boards I'm seeing right now is, let me make sure he's around here. Yeah, BPA is going to be Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. Solid defensive tackle, will bring back that run defense that was lacking, and definitely was missing Sue last year. And yeah, you got a defensive coach in there. Why not put a nice little building block there for Miami? So, 14, Atlanta, Hotlanta to Bronson. What you got?
It's a tricky one. Because just about every pick we've already said prior, I would have loved on this team. They are really, really trying to get back to their roots on defense. I think their boy over there is sweating with what their defense put on the field last week.
Dan Quinn.
They definitely have some good pieces with Keanu. You know, they got Trufant over there. He needs to stay healthy, though. They just let go of Alford. They got some guys coming off the bench that are playing pretty well. So I think they're going to add more depth at that position, maybe get something in there that's really beneficial for them. And I think they're going to take Byron Murphy out of Washington.
Byron Murphy, very solid pick. A lot of people, he's tied for the top corner. I know a lot of people love Trayvon Mullen, a lot of people love DeAndre Baker, but Byron Murphy, I've heard, is up there when it comes to defensive back prospects. So very solid pick. And again, this is kind of a luxury pick for Atlanta. You know, they had some issues with injuries last year more than anything. So. And they could have had a better pick if they just would have lost the last game, you know. Go figure.
Right.
But it is what it is. John, be gentle. You have my Washington Redskins.
All right. So, you know,
it's going to be obvious.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, especially with what's going on with the whole Alex Smith thing and the fact that none of you guys have picked a quarterback yet. Honestly, if this would have fell through with the way I thought a whole bunch of quarterbacks would have gone by now. I was going to pick Daniel Jones out of Duke, but, man, Dwayne Haskins is still on the board. How can you not pick him? It's almost obvious, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love Dwayne Haskins. From all intents and purposes, from what I hear, is he's going to blow up the combine. He's going to have, everybody's going to fall in love with his arm. Everybody's going to fall in love with his athleticism, things like that. Yeah. And again, people, we're almost halfway through, but again, this is not the definitive. This is what's going to happen. We're doing no trades. I think teams are going to trade up. I think there's going to be teams like Washington. I could see trading up. I could see teams like Miami if they're just doing the smoke screen trading up. Cincinnati possibly. Denver's definitely going to trade up. Jacksonville possibly, New York possibly. So there's going to be trades that happen. But yeah, as of right now, all intents and purposes, yeah, Dwayne Haskins falls 15 to the Redskins. I'm happy. I love that pick. So.
Oh yeah.
16, Carolina Panthers. Really, they had a weird year. They started 6-2 on the year and finished 7-9.
I told you they choked dick.
They had some issues, definitely. This is a team that's, you know, they got to figure out what they want, what they're going to need. I think, again, best player available. This is a team that needs to figure out what they want, and I think what they want, looking at the board here, I'm going to say they go for Trayvon Mullen, the cornerback out of Clemson. Played oh my God, he played so well during the national championship game. Ridiculous. He's going to be a great prospect, and I think he fits right there in Carolina, what they need, who haven't had good defensive backs since Josh Norman was there. So, number 17, surprise, surprise, not a trade down where they are at right now. Bronson, you've got the Cleveland Browns. I know. Now we have to. Now it's like we have to look at the board and go, "Shit, that guy's off. Shit, that guy's off." Like, what are we doing here?
You know, dude, I'm gonna let oh, God damn it, I'm brain farting so hard right now. They brought in who to be their defensive coordinator? I loved it. The signing. Who was their defensive coordinator?
It's shit. Hold on, let me look it up.
Yeah, they got me thinking.
Yeah, it's
Steve Wilkes.
Yeah,
That's
Steve
right.
Wilkes. Yeah, I love this. They're going to be transitioning into a 4-3. I think they're gonna need them DBs, and I think they're gonna try to get the best out of Jabril. I think he is going to play well. Who's playing opposite of Jabril right now? Is it TJ Carey?
Hold on one second. Let me look up their roster real quick because I'm not sure. Cleveland Browns. Let me look here. This is how organized we are. We don't even know the players on teams. No. Demarius Randall.
Okay, so he's solid. It's ready to trade for him. All right, frick. All right, well then they're gonna go edge rush. I think they stack as many bodies as they can in that front seven. And I'm gonna go ahead and try. I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna say Jachai Pala.
Jakai. Here, I'll help you with it. Jakai.
Yeah.
Polite. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna take him out of Florida.
You did a better job than I could have.
Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. Jakai Polite, great defensive prospect. He might actually go a little bit higher, just depending. But yeah, if the Browns can get him, that's a scary duo right there. Jakai Polite or Myles Garrett. Like who do you want to get hit by? That's a great pick right there. Also, they go wide receiver in this, give Baker some more weapons, but it just depends. But yeah, no, I still love the pick of Jakai Polite. John, apparently you can only pick New York teams or NFC North teams because now you've got the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, there's an obvious answer here, John, and you better fucking pick it, or I'm gonna bitch slap you until you know nothing about football.
Well, I'm gonna go a little. I don't know if it's bold of me, but I don't know. For some reason, I could just see him picking Clemson's Dexter Lawrence. He needs some help on defense.
Dexter Lawrence. Let's see.
Defensive tackle.
They need everything but defense right now. They need an O-lineman worse than anyone else. If I were to put anyone at that spot, I'd be putting Cody Ford there.
Yeah. That's right. I don't know why I thought you picked Cody Ford. Yeah, my bad. No. Let me change that. Yeah, Cody Ford. Because I had him going to the Browns.
Okay. Yeah. Cody Ford. Okay, so your official pick is Cody Ford, the offensive guard.
Yeah, I only had him going to the Browns because he
like if the Vikings don't take a different positional person on the offensive line in the first 5 rounds of the draft, it's a terrible draft.
Yeah, no. If Cody Ford can fall to 18, then definitely they got to go offensive line. I don't know why I thought you picked Cody Ford. I was looking at my pick and I was like, oh, yep, he went there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They definitely need offensive line help. I mean. They could, they did have a pretty bad, run defense last year, so I could definitely see Dexter Lawrence.
They had injuries. I mean, again, but like I think they just had like.
Yeah, their offensive line's pretty bad. So anyone offensive lineman, yeah.
I mean, how many times was Kirk sacked this year, and how many times did he make passes under center, under pressure? I mean, it was absurd, those stats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm up next. I got the Tennessee Titans. This is a no-brainer for me. Noah Fant. Tight end from Iowa. That's weird that Iowa has 2 tight ends that are going to go in the first round, but I think this is a no-brainer. You give Mariota another weapon. You give him another Delaney Walker who's younger, but with more athleticism, a lot more potential. This is a guy who should fit in that offense very well. And yeah, Tennessee Titans, Noah Fant. No fucking brainer there. Bronson, Pittsburgh Steelers, you got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go kind of crazy here, and I'm going to go N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. I'm going to say they lose Antonio. They draft a new guy. They get a young receiving core, maybe reminiscent of their early days when they had Emmanuel and Antonio. I could see them doing that. I mean, you could argue that there's a few defensive guys here that you could put, like I don't know, Deontay Thompson. You could maybe put Brian Burns, but I don't know. I like to see them like lose a receiver, gain a receiver. Get the first receiver off the board.
And Kill Harry is nice. It's funny because there's talk that they could actually go Marquise Hollywood Brown, who is cousin to Antonio Brown. So you replace one guy with his cousin. But solid pick either way. I do agree with that. I mean, you gotta keep Juju. Even though Juju's great, you gotta make sure that he has another complement to him. So yeah, love the pick there. Sean, you're up next. You have the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I was trying to ponder what they would do at this position because I know we're not doing trades, and I could definitely see them trading him this pick, but we're not doing that. So after thinking about it for a good part of the day, I think they're going to go with Delaware's Nasir Adderley, safety.
Really? So a safety prospect over an offensive tackle?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could obviously use the help on that position, but I don't know. I mean, I have seen a little bit of Adderley, and I think he's a really great player. And I think if he falls to them, I know a lot of people have talked about, Legion of Boom, it's in the past, blah blah blah, and I think he's a really great complement to that defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I like it. I can see it. So, I'm up next. I have the Baltimore Ravens. They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. No, I'm joking. No, they need a weapon.
Next year.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
No, they need a weapon. They need an offensive weapon in terms of wide receiver. I think this is the pick here. Let me just pull up my wide receivers. Fucking Jesus Christ, I dropped all the way down. Obviously with N'Keal Harry down, it's pretty much a tie between Hakeem Butler, DK Metcalf, Marquise Brown, even AJ Brown. You could say one of those four could be this pick. I'm gonna go Hakeem Butler, Iowa State. The guy is a baller. Made good choices. I believe he's 6'2". Hold on one second. I'll pull up his information here. But yeah, the guy's like 6'2", 215 pounds. He's not listed on this website. That's weird. I don't understand. Yeah, Hakeem Butler is my pick for the Ravens, who desperately need a wide receiver. Bronson, 23, the Texans.
Well, John took my pick of Cody Ford. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a fucking steal for them, and I think they get Greg Little. Yep.
I had them picking them. Yep.
Yeah, Greg Little, the offensive tackle out of Auburn. Very, very solid pick there. And yeah, they definitely. Oh, Ole Miss. I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. I was thinking of, okay. I think the other Greg Little.
Move on. We move on.
Yeah, we move on. like my balls. No,
hashtag embarrassing moment.
Greg Little, offensive tackle of Ole Miss. Like it. Can dig it. So, and they definitely, they need offensive line help. You got to give Deshaun Watson some more time in the pocket. So, 24, John, you have the Oakland Raiders who got this pick from the Bears. This is the Khalil Mack trade.
All right, make it count because it better be a good one. If it's a flop.
Worked out really well. Worked out really well for the Bears. Let's see if it works out for Oakland. Who you taking in the spot?
I think they want to get Derek Carr another weapon. I mean, they can't really just rely on Jordy Nelson. I mean, Jordy's a great receiver and all, but I think they want to get another weapon. I thought this guy was going to fall to the Ravens. I still like your pick, Max, but I think they're going to go Marquise Brown at Oklahoma State.
Nice. I can dig it. 5'11", 165, 170 pounds. We'll see if he can last, but got fucking lightning quick. He's going to light up the combine. Don't be surprised if he runs like a low 4.3, high 4.2, 240-yard dash. So, and Oakland does love themselves some fast players. So, Philadelphia are up next. I have them. This is a team that is going to have some cap casualties and have some things, but it just depends on what they want to go. I think they go best player available, and he's fallen down this far, which surprises me, but I'm going to go and say, oh, yeah, here we go. DeAndre Baker, the defensive back out of Georgia, is going to be my selection for the Eagles. I don't really know too much about him, but I've heard he's very good. Number 26, the Indianapolis Colts. Bronson, you are up.
I think they're going to draft another safety to pair with Malik Hooker, and this guy has also fallen really low. I can't believe it. Deontay Thompson out of Alabama, man.
Yeah, that's a very good pick. You could play him anywhere. And Malik Hooker definitely needs some help there. And this is a team that is going to have a lot of money and a lot of luxury picks. They have a first round pick and two or three second round picks. So yeah, can dig it. So, John, Here we go. Repeat again. You got the Oakland Raiders again.
Via
This time-
Dallas.
Yeah, via Dallas. This is the Amari Cooper trade. So in the Khalil Mack spot, you did not take a pass rusher. You took a wide receiver. Are you taking a pass rusher here? Or are you going something different?
I'm definitely gonna go defense.
You better take our edge rusher because they have to take an edge rusher after trading Khalil.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a part of me wanted to go middle linebacker, but I mean they got to go past edge rusher, and I think at that point they got to go Brian Burns out of Florida State.
Yeah, very solid, very twitchy, very fast guy. I mean, if he falls this far, that's going to be a steal for Oakland. I don't think he falls this far necessarily, but in our mock draft he does, and I think Oakland jumps at the chance for him.
Dude, this
So,
draft is just insane with how many edge rushers and defensive tackles are projected to go. I mean,
Oh
it's,
yeah,
it's insane. And it's going to
Yeah.
be like a J.J. Watt situation where like 5 go, and then like the guy who goes in like the late teens, early 20s is the all-pro.
yeah,
It's going to
absolutely.
be crazy.
So, I'm up next. I've got the where are they at? I got the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know. They're San Diego. They fucking got their asses kicked. This is a team that could go a couple different routes, just depending on free agency. They're in a win now mode, but I think you have to look for the future. And this is where I'm going to take them. I'm going to take Kyler Murray in this position. I think this is a great pick for them. It just depends on, is he going to play baseball or not? As of right now, he's not playing baseball. He is playing football. So he can sit back there. He'll be in a big market, which I'm sure his parents and his agents will love. And he can sit behind Phillip Rivers for a year or two and learn. And if he wants to play baseball in the off time, fuck it, you can go play baseball. But I don't think in this day and age you can play quarterback and baseball at the same time. But yeah, I'm going to go Kyler Murray, San Diego. 29, Bronson, you are up.
Who's picking?
Bronson, you are up. Kansas City.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kansas
Kansas City. My bad. My bad.
I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City here with, God.
That you got to
I'm
pick somebody on defense.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty much weighing my options here, but I think I'm going to have to take Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State.
Very. This would be a luxury pick, but
If
yeah,
there-
this is a very good pick.
I'll just say this right now. If there's a player in the first round that I wanted on my team, it's this guy.
Yeah, he is. He's very good. He has an awesome last name of Sweat.
Yeah.
He sounds like an R&B singer. Like, my name is Montez Sweat. I'm here to sing my best single. I'm here to make you wet.
Yeah, I can already see like his like endorsements for like deodorant.
Yeah.
Right now.
Exactly. So yeah, this is a very good pick. I wouldn't be surprised, and I know you probably will say the same thing too. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs go and be aggressive in this draft and trade up, maybe get one of the other defensive backs that are in this or not. But either way, I mean, if they stay here and they somehow get Montez Sweat, holy shit. That's it.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
very-
I've considered DeAndre Baker. Yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. John, you are up next. You have the Green Bay Packers again. You were picking twice for the Packers. This is from the Saints for
Twice
when
the
the
Packers,
Saints.
twice for the Raiders.
Yeah. Jesus, you got all the traded picks.
And all the New York teams. Man, this is awesome. All right, so I think the Packers at this position, they want to go edge rusher. And since Brian Burns, at least right now, is already taken, I think they got to go with Zach Allen out of Boston College.
Okay, nice pick there. Another avenue they could also go is Josh Jacobs, the running back out of Alabama, 5'10", 216.
I don't know if they take a running back, man.
It just depends. If they feel like
They got
Aaron
two
Jones
solid guys there, man. Both of their guys are serviceable.
Yeah, but if you have a guy who can, who's, like I said, and this is just what I'm hearing, is that some scouts say that Josh Jacobs is a better prospect than Leonard Fournette. You could have two
Leonard
serviceable
Fournette's
guys.
Garbage.
Well, Leonard Fournette, if he's healthy, and that's what I hear. But we'll see. I still like the pick though. They definitely need pass rusher, especially I'm hearing that they might move on from Clay Matthews, and of course they're losing Nick Perry. He's had some injuries and stuff like that, so it's a very solid pick there from the Green Bay Packers. So second to last pick, I'm up. I've got the LA Rams. They are they're gonna hit the regression zone. They're gonna hit the regression zone hard. They are not going to keep Ndamukong Suh, but I believe that they're going to end up with Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. He will be the Sue replacement. He'll be the run stopper, the stuffer there, and he'll be a nice pick there for the Rams if they don't trade out. I think they either trade out or hell, they might even trade up. They're so aggressive. They're such in win mode now. I wouldn't be surprised either. Bronson, you're last. You have the New England Patriots, the Super Bowl champs.
Oh my God! All right, yeah. Well, you wanted to go and put quarterbacks out here on teams that I wouldn't fully expect to take Kyler Murray, but I'm gonna go with Daniel Jones here.
Nice, Daniel Jones. He has adequate arm strength. He's been a starter for a couple of years now. 6'5", 220. Can learn. Definitely, he's a smart guy. He went to Duke, but yeah, learned under Brady for a year or two. It's a great pick, man. I could definitely see it. So, and yeah, that does it for our first ever 1.0 mock draft on the Pass Interference podcast here. I will go back and listen to this, and I'll do a spreadsheet or whatever of our picks, and then as the combine hits, as we start seeing more stuff, we'll do a couple more mock drafts before then. But yeah. It was a fun one. Definitely some surprising picks, but yeah, that's what I love about you guys. You guys are like, yeah, fuck this, man. This is what's gonna happen, because fuck you guys.
What was your most surprising pick?
I still am shocked about Ed Oliver going over Quinnen Williams, but yeah,
hey,
I mean,
man,
that was
boards. Just because everyone says one thing's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to be the case. Remember, Joey Bosa went where he went, and that was a shocker.
Yeah. So, and he was supposed to, I think, he was supposed to go number one.
Believe that he went to the Chargers.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, that about does it for this episode of the Pass Interference Podcast. It's been a fun one. We're going to cut this short, just shy of 2 hours, Bronson, just like how you wanted, so.
Boom.
Bam.
Less than 2 hours.
Well, shit happens.
And if someone didn't take their sweet ass time in order to be done.
Hey man, I can't control traffic.
All right, that about does it here for the Pass Interference Podcast. John, where can find people podcast land find you?
Find me on Instagram and Twitter at NERRRICH.
All right. Bronson, where can find people podcast land find you?
At Chefman Bronson on the Instagrams, Bronsonius on the Twitters, and always and forever at fucking work.
And same here. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at OG Liquid Jesus. You can also find me on Twitch. I've been streaming more and more at Liquid Jesus 1, twitch.tv/Liquid Jesus 1. Where I play Rocket League with John, and I recently discovered my love of Apex Legends. That game is a lot of fucking fun.
Yes.
Oh my god, my employee won't stop fucking talking about it. I'm talking to you, Spencer, you fucking Eagles fan.
It's so good.
Dude, I'm telling
he's like, dude, I got this wicked champion kill, and I like went into a rage.
Dude, I'm telling
the guy who had the crown or whatever.
That about does it for this podcast. It's been a fun one. It's been real. Check out the bonus clip where you're going to hear Bronson P. Bye, everybody!
Happy off season.